discuss some things between now and a week ago. So you're putting away 3 to 5% of your funds, at least. At least. All right. We're going to get started. We've already covered, lovely book, very informative. What is money? The myths about money, the science of spending, the science of debt, the science of generating income. Ooh, I need this section, and I've been reading before now in regards to generating income. So let's get through chapter 5, shall we? Show me the loot. Hey, yeah. All right, generating income. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? I can feel it. Let's go. Whew, babe, I've already learned so much already in chapter 1 through 4. All right. Once you are employing smart spending methods and effective debt management, it says once. Consistent with the principles of the science of money, you need to make sure that you are generating strong cash flow or income, both to invest in further projects and financial opportunities and also to begin living the lifestyle you desire. But you first got the spending methods and effective debt management. Then cash flow, if it's not strong, because you're gonna be investing in further projects so that you can live the lifestyle. How to get to the lifestyle. Okay. In this chapter, Brian will teach you the proven laws and principles you need to follow to generate the highest income possible. Whether you are an employee, a business owner, or a full-time investor. Then, Brian, let's begin by discussing your own life experience as it relates to generating income. In the past, you have shared the story of how you went from working very hard at a low-paying job in your early days to earning millions of dollars a year in cash flow as an author and business owner. I got jokes. He didn't twerk. He wasn't walking around half naked. That's fine, whatever. What are some of the lessons you learned about how to generate an income that helps you fund your dreams? Brian, everyone wants to generate a consistently high income that enables them to fund their dreams. Everybody dreams of having money that comes in the mailbox. As they say, so that they are earning money and they're not working for it, that is largely a fantasy. Yes, I want some checks in the mail. I know some of the smartest people in the world who have had this fantasy for 25 years. They're always saying, this is the one. This is going to be the trick. This is the way that I will start to generate high levels of income without working. For 25 years. The fact of the matter is the only way that you can do this is by investing time and money and producing products that sell or that the other people sell in which generate royalties, a commission, a dividend, or something else. For example, when I started working very hard to become successful, I started to invest in income-producing real estate. This turned out to be the best investment I've ever made because real estate continues. It's solid. It continues to grow in value. Your rents and leases from real estate continue to grow up with inflation and cost of living increases and so on. You'll find that the most of the great fortunes are founded, first of all, in a productive business, and then they channel that money into income-producing real estate or into other investments that produce cash flow. Royalties, commissions, dividends, real estate. Other investments. Dan, what is the biggest misconception most people have about how to generate a high income? Brian, to go back to what we've talked about earlier, your work is a commodity that people buy at the lowest possible price for the highest possible quality. Low price, high quality. Human nature. In the last couple of years, I've done an enormous amount of work in two areas. One is called business model reinvention, which is taking a look at your business model. The other is called personal life model reinvention. Hello, love tubers. Thanks for joining. Taking a look at your personal life model. Both models are revenue generation methodologies. How do you generate profits for a business? How do you generate income for yourself? The answer is that 90% of your income is going to be determined by the quality of the work you do in comparison with that of others who do the same work. 90% of your success in business will be the result of the quality of the product that you offer in comparison with your competitors who are offering a similar product that will do a similar thing. The greatest focus always has to be on increasing the quality of your product or service as a company. All right, so quality of work, result of the quality, improving the quality, increasing the quality of work as an individual. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine, a very wealthy businessman, very successful, very conservative, needed to have open heart surgery. He said, wow, even though this is a pretty standard today, people do die on the table from open heart surgery. He began to do some research to find the best surgeon in the country for his particular type of surgery. He found this surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic, which is world famous for having the foremost heart surgery specialist in the world. He contacted him through his doctor, finally made arrangements, then flew to Cleveland for his surgery. That's what money does. He spent several days in the hospital and came back on a private jet. He told me, if you're going to have open heart surgery, this is the guy. He's done this surgery more than 5,000 times and has an absolutely impeccable success rate. If you're really going to need open heart surgery and you want to be absolutely guaranteed that you recover and have a normal life afterwards, you go to this guy. Of course, this doctor is paid an absolute fortune, as he should be. An open heart surgeon in a normal city may get you something like $50,000. He gets $250,000. Not only that, he does 4 a day. It takes about 92 minutes to 2 hours to do an open heart surgery. I know this because I subsequently had open heart surgery with another doctor, also one of the best in the country, who also has done 5,000 surgeries and who also does between 2 to 4 surgeries a day. You only see him once beforehand. The next time you and he cross paths, you are on unconscious. He does the surgery and you never see him again. He's a genius, and he probably gets 150,000 to 250,000 per operation, 2 to 4 times a day, because he's an absolute elite of his field. I use this example to emphasize my belief that if you're going to invest money at all, invest money in becoming really excellent at what you do. I talk about this over and over again in my seminars. I'm not asking you to win the gold medal in the Olympic or number one, just be in the top 10%, because that's where all the money is. The top 10%. One reason people are not in the top 10% in their field is that they've chosen the wrong field completely. This Brian man. Okay. And they have no capability for it. But the major reason is they never decided to be in the top 10% and they just coasted. They reached a certain level of competence, then they coasted. One of the most important studies on elite performances has been done by Dr. K. Anders Ericsson, Andersson, at the University of Florida. He's the one who says it takes 7,000 to 10,000 hours of hard work and 5 to 7 years to enter the levels of elite performance. 7,000. He's done most of his work with musicians, but also in other fields as well. Malcolm Gladwell, my apologies, wrote his book Outliers, Outliers, citing the research that Ericsson had done. And then Jeffrey Colvin, Jeffrey with a G, of Fortune wrote that talent is overrated, based on exactly the same idea that you don't have to have talent to start off with, but if you really put in the hours and you develop yourself to the point where you perform at an extraordinary level, as long as it's the right field for you, you love it, you enjoy it, you put your whole heart into it, you enjoy becoming better and better, you can't become excellent at something that you don't love, that your heart isn't in. All right. Anyway, Ericsson found that the average person in the bottom 80% will work to develop competence and confidence in their job, and then they will level off and never get any better. The average person, 80% of the population, is no more productive 10 years after they start their first job than they were after 1 year. It's only the top 20% of people who continue to grow. I'm just going to put alert there. Gary Becker, a Nobel Prize winning economist, did an interesting study. He found that the average income of people in the bottom 80% goes up to 2 or 3% per year as long as they remain employed. That is about the increase in the cost of living, so they never get ahead. For the people in the top 20%, their income goes up an average of 11.8% per year because they're continually learning, growing, and increasing their skills and getting better and better in their fields. So the ones at the top get more money during training, and the ones at the bottom who are not really don't get a raise. They just get the cost of living increase. So why do people earn high incomes? It's because they do their jobs very well. I'll give you some great examples. Just think of the chiefs who run the top restaurants, like Alan Dukas, Alain Ducasse, who runs a restaurant in New York. It's one of the most famous restaurants in the world. It's fully booked, and people easily pay $500 to $1,000 a night for two people to go there and have dinner. Add that to my list of places to go. You put a plus sign there. All right. The top restaurant in the United States is called the French Laundry, and it's located in Napa Valley, which is very hard to get to. You have to fly into Oakland or San Francisco. You have to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours. You have to stay at a hotel up there in the Napa Valley in order to go to this restaurant. That sounds like somebody got a lot of time on their hands. This restaurant has such high quality that the basic dinner is between $350 and $500, and wine is extra. Listen, I'm no mathematician, but you gotta fly in. It's a flying expense. To San Francisco or Oakland. I know California is expensive because I've been to Cali. You have to drive an hour and a half to 2 hours, gas, or you're renting a vehicle. You have to stay at a hotel up there. If it's a Cali hotel, I'm sure it is expensive. And then on top of that, the dinner. You might as well say the dinner is $250. I mean, it's $750 because you're gonna want wine. Two and a half hours is about 2 tanks of gas. Last time I checked, gas in Cali was about $8 a gallon. So you're looking at about I would say 4 to 65,000. Roughly. Because dinner by itself plus a tip is $1K. All right. You can't change your mind or change your date or have a no-show. So people literally travel from all over the world. They fly in, they stay at a nearby hotel, and they go to this restaurant so they can experience the gourmet cooking of the chef who runs the French Laundry. This is an extreme example of how if you're really, really good at what you do, people will pay you almost anything. Hold on. That's a lot to go to a restaurant. Y'all ever heard of the French Laundry? Hold on. As we know, a lawyer gets $200 to $300 an hour. The best lawyers get $2,000 to $3,000 an hour, $10,000 an hour. Sometimes they get $100,000 or $200,000 or $1 million to handle a particular case. Because if you get this lawyer to take your case, whatever it happens to be, it can save you or make you a fortune. This place is gorgeous. When it comes to earning a high income, there's only one way to do it, and that's to be so good at it you do that a conscious consumer, wanting the very most of the very least, eagerly pays you premium dollars for your product or your service or your labor. I want to see what it looks like on the inside. Wanting the very most for the very least eagerly pays you premium dollar for your product or your service or your labor. One thing to keep in mind is that all fortunes in America start with the sale of personal services. All fortunes in America start with the sale of personal services. Let's keep it moving. A person becomes very, very good at delivering personal services. As a result, people are willing to pay them premiums and go and to hire them and to promote them and move them up and give them greater responsibilities. And with the greater responsibilities comes more money. And with more money becomes more opportunity and so on. But it all loops back to doing what you do in a really excellent fashion. Personal service. Dan, some employees will say that they put a lot of time and effort into a company and they should be paid more for that. Speaking as someone who employs people, how would you respond to them? Okay, Dan. Ryan, this is very common. People say, I've got 20 years experience, but the boss says, quite honestly, you've only got 1 year of experience 22 times over. 20 times over. Because remember, the great majority, 80% or more, only do their jobs well enough to not get fired and to avoid the antagonism of their fellow workers because they're not doing their share. Once they reach that point, they slip into a comfort zone. They hang out, they chit chat, they go for lunch and coffee, they waste time. This is one of the great tragedies. People go to work and the first thing they do is go and find somebody to talk to. And then after they've spoken to that person, they go and find somebody else to talk to and somebody else to talk to. They never start work. They don't go in at 8:30 and start work. They go and find somebody to talk to and then they go, Chase, it's 11 o'clock. And I've talked to all my friends about what was on TV and what movies they saw and the family and the latest news story and so on. Yeah. That's what you do with coworkers. Go to work to talk. Mm-hmm. Only they do. They go to work and, oh my gosh, it's lunchtime. They all go out to lunch. And then they come back after lunch, which is usually too long. And they reestablish their relationship with their friends, talk, and then they do a little bit more work, and then they leave because they want to beat the traffic. And they wonder why they don't get promoted. We see this over and over again. He just described the perfect workplace. Yes, he did. In our company, I do believe people working remotely from home changed that, but they're doing something called hybrid now and bringing folks back. So they're going to go back and do the same thing. In our company, as I've said, if a person does a really good job, we give preemptive increases. Let's hope he explains that. We don't want to lose them because good people are really rare. Good people are the hardest thing to get, and once you get them, pay them whatever they require to keep them because a good person costs nothing. A good person contributes far more value than they cost. Okay. As a matter of fact, the most successful companies are the ones that keep hiring that contribute more in other cost savings or revenue increases than they cost. So each person actually yields a net profit to the company. That's why companies who have 100,000 employees make hundreds of millions and billions of dollars a year because every employee is actually contributing more than they cost. cost savings, revenue increase. This is really the key. We put a little light bulb there. When a person says, I want more money, the fact is that they're not earning more money. I had a guy come up to me recently at a talk where I was saying you should set a goal to double your income. And he came up to me at break, very superior, arrogant, and said, this might be a nice motivational talk that you're giving, but in my company, there's no way they would pay me twice as much. So what you're saying is really not true. And you really should make it clear to the audience it's a bit of an exaggeration. Oh, he knew who he was talking to. I said, okay, let me ask you a question. Is there anybody in your company that earns twice as much as you? He stopped and said, well, of course. Are there people that earn 3, 4, or 5 times as much as you? Well, yeah, the senior people, the top people. So then I said, we can safely conclude that your company is more than willing to pay people 3 or 4 or 5 times what you earn. Check. They're just not willing to pay you that amount. Now, why would that be? He was shocked, as if I'd slapped him in the face. And he said, maybe it's because I'm not very productive. I said, there you go. It's your fault. You're the reason why you're not getting paid more money. He walked away shaking his head. I call it the survival bonus. Boss, I didn't die last year, so therefore I'm entitled to more money. I'm sorry, but put a smiley face there. No, you're only entitled to more money if you're producing more value. Your share of the extra value you're creating constitutes your increase. No increase, no value, no increase in pay. And there you have it. Dan, one of the most frequent complaints around the water cooler at work, is the fact that many people do not feel they are paid what they're worth. Many people feel that the office politicals, favoritism, etc., keep them from earning a salary commensurate with the value that they are delivering. What do you recommend that an employee should do in this case? Oh, I want to hear this. Brian. It boils down to something for nothing. People think that they are entitled to more money even though they don't do anything else to achieve it. He's going to tell us a story. In the 1950s, something like 50% of the workforce was unionized. This idea of unionization, which still exists in many government areas and with teachers, is that you get increased pay if you don't die. Therefore, you have seniority. You're entitled to increased pay. People who have been there longer get paid more. Younger people get less money even if they're hardworking and competent. This filters into the mindset that you should be paid more based on the number of years that you've put in. This is the mindset of people who want more money without earning it, who think that they should get more money without being more productive, without creating more value. The fact of the matter is that in every company where people are being paid extremely well, even though they may have started after you, they are contributing more and more value. And so the question is always, are you contributing more value now than last week, last month, last year? Are you getting more results that people value and will pay for? Are you contributing more value that combined with the work of others your company can use to sell more products and services, generate more sales and more profitability? If you're not, then you haven't earned an automatic increase. The days of automatic increase have been gone for almost 20 years, and there are still people standing around the water cooler wasting time, chatting with their friends, putting in their hours, and complaining that they're not getting paid more. So if you want to get paid more, it's very simple. Start a little earlier, work a little harder, stay a little later. One thing I teach is that the key to success is to work all the time you work. It's always been the key to success. It's been the truth throughout history, especially in the last 200 years. When you go to work, put your head down and work. Sometimes I ask this question. Let's say you got a job at McDonald's, a minimum wage job shaking French fries. Many people start their working careers with a job at McDonald's because it teaches them work, to come on time, to cooperate, to follow instructions, to do good work, to clean up after themselves, and so on. Okay. This is very good training. So you get a job at McDonald's. Could you stroll into McDonald's 15 or 20 minutes after your shift starts, holding a cup of Starbucks with your phone in your hand, checking on Facebook, and then hunker down with your friends and shoot the breeze about what you did last night and what you watched on TV, then take half your hour for coffee and half an hour for lunch and so on? My gosh. Could you do that if you were working at McDonald's at minimum wage? Absolutely not. You'd have to be there on time, punched in. If you're not punched in, you lose your job. Then you work and you get a 10-minute coffee break in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, and 30 minutes at lunch, and you work your whole shift from 8 to 5. Everybody knows that. What you have to do at a minimum wage job, how much more important is it if you're much higher paid person working in a white collar environment? You're getting paid several times the minimum wage, ideally. How is it that you think you can go to work carrying your cup of Starbucks, showing up late, shooting the breeze, hanging out and reading the paper and checking your email and not doing any work? The whole audience had this shocked look because they see themselves. You done gave a whole mirror. And yet I'm trying to get away with it at work. I'm wondering why I never get my work done. I'm wondering why I'm behind the 8 ball. I'm wondering why I haven't had an increase for 3 years. I'm wondering why I'm not making any progress in my career. It's because you're not working. Daggone. Okay. Dan, you're absolutely right. I could never imagine not being fired for showing up 15 minutes late every day for your McDonald's job. That's true. But we often think of it so differently with a white-collar job. Now let's discuss the science of generating income for business owners. This is a huge issue since many businesses never get off the ground or survive past a couple of years because of low cash flow. First, what should the expectations be for a new business owner for generating income in the first year or two? Do you recommend that a potential entrepreneur only proceed if he or she has a year or two income in the bank? Why or why not? He kind of talked about this in the last chapter, but I want to see if he does something different in this chapter. I'll put new here. Brian, there are 2 questions with regard to cash flow and money in the bank. Everything comes down to sales. Everything comes down to sales. IBM got into serious economic trouble between 89 and 91. The stock price dropped 80%. Ooh. They were talking about breaking up the company. It was a major deal because in the 80s, IBM was the most respected company in the world. High profits, great leadership, fabulous technology, greatest customer service, ranting raves in all the magazines. Forbes, Fortune, Businessweek. 2 or 3 years later, it fell out the sky. So they fired the president and brought in a new president, Louis Gerstner, who knew nothing about computers. He said, I don't even know how to turn one on, but I do know about business. He started off his career working at McKinsey & Company, one of the best and largest management consulting companies in the world. If they accept the assignment, they come in and fan out. They find the problem and the solution to the problem. They always come in with a solution that works, which is why they are paid so much. Consulting. After 6 months and about $3 million worth of consulting fees, they sat down the senior people at IBM and said, we found your problem. 6 months, $3 million worth. And said, they all rolled their eyes and said, oh, we found your problem. It's low sales. 6 months and $3 million worth of consulting fees later. We know that. That's why our stock price is down. Low sales, low profit. They asked what the solution was. The consultant said high sales. And it's interesting because Dun and Bradstreet studied the autopsies of tens of thousands of companies that had gone broke over the years and found that you could put aside all the other explanations, technology, capitalization, competition. It all came down to low sales. IBM asked McKinsey & Company what the solution was. The solution was simple. They said, we looked at the time usage of your salespeople and sales managers, and we found that under the previous administration, they've been reduced almost to performance as accountants because of the previous administrations had been accountants, and they always believe that accounting is the most important function in a business. Instead of going out and making calls, salespeople were expected to spend 70% of their time filling out forms. If they did make a call, they'd have to fill out a 5-page sales form. Then the sales manager had to spend all their time reviewing the forms filled out by the salespeople, and nobody was talking to customers. The consultant said, our recommendation is to flip it upside down. People are going to spend less than 20% of their time in the office and 75% of their time face-to-face with customers. Sales managers are going to spend 75% of their time with their salespeople talking to the customers, so they begin the 75% rule. 75% rule. They got them out there talking to customers, and the whole company turned around. It went from $1.5 billion in losses to $1.6 billion in profits in 1 year by talking to customers. Customer service is important. Lyft, Facebook, some other places that don't have customer service. Let's keep going. Today is still one of the best performing stocks in the world. The stock went up. This rule is now used all over the world in major corporations because the magic of the turnaround at IBM was reported widely. Very simply, get your salespeople and your sales managers to spend 75% of their time doing sales. If you are a small business, get the owner of the business out there with customers 75% of the time. The point is that it is always low sales that lead to business problems, and it is always high sales that lead to business success. Point blank. Concerning how much you should have put aside, how much should you have as reserve, and how much you should take, the answer is how much can you sell? They did a study of small to medium-sized business owners recently, and the analysis asked how important making marketing and sales and new customers generation were to their business. It is very important. I've been looking at SEOs, some other things. It's very important. They all said, oh, the most important thing of all, there's nothing more important than sales and marketing. It's the blood to the brain. Sales and marketing. It's oxygen, but cash flow. We die without it. How much of your time do you, as a company owner, the chief decision maker, spend on sales and marketing? All the time, all day. It's all I ever think about, morning, noon, and night. The analysis then asked, could you come in with time and motion specialist and just walk around with a notepad and stopwatch and watch how you use your time on a day-to-day basis, day-to-day, week-to-week basis? Oh, absolutely, no problem at all. So the analyst went in, and after a month, they came back with the results. The average business owner spends 11% of his or her time in sales and marketing. Everything else is checking on email, social media, chatting with staff, going for lunch, meeting with the banker, and so on. $11%. That's why they were struggling. If you spend 11% of your time on sales, the staff will probably spend less than that because you always set the standard in your company and everybody follows you. I've given this advice over and over again. People come back and they're absolutely shocked. Their businesses, which have been struggling, suddenly transformed into high sales, high profit businesses because people are out there selling the product all day long. You got to hustle. You got to hit the streets. Okay? That's what my book publisher said. You're gonna have to beat them streets, ma'am. I said, yes, sir. I said, when did you do your paperwork? Before 8 o'clock and after 6 o'clock? The rule is you do not do any administrative paperwork when there are customers to be seen. When there are customers to be seen, all you do is see customers. I had a business owner who came for me for one full day of strategy, and we talked about the best use of his time. He considered the best use of his time to be search engine optimization. That's what I just said. So that's what he was working on. I said, are you a technical person? He said, no, I'm not a technical person. But it's the key to generating new business for our companies to generate more online leads. Oh, this is good. Because this is what I've been studying and looking up on. This may be an important activity, I said, but it's not your important activity. What are the things that you do that generate the most new revenue? What are the activities specifically? We went back and forth and looked over his activities, and he realized that most of his best new business came from recommendations and referrals from his top 20% of clients. That's beautiful. That's really lovely. Recommendations and referrals. Then I said the best use of your time would be to spend more time face to face or phone to phone with your very best clients, making sure they're happy, offering them additional services, giving them coaching, consulting advice, information. He said, you're absolutely right. It's so obvious. The more time I spend with my best clients, the more they buy of my services, the more they bring in their friends who are the same level that they are. This is going to transform my business. He went back and he had me come in and teach this entire process to everybody in his company. They went from 10 million to 20 million in sales in 2008. That's double to 2009 when the market was tanking. They transformed the business, their sales went up and their profits went up even faster by focusing on customers and focusing on making sales. While it is the main reason companies fail, one is that they do not aggressively sell the product. There are always an excuse or they try to run ads, online ads, when there are 36 million people running ads online to sell stuff. They think, I'll just put some ads on the internet and then I'll make a lot of money. You know, it has been a minute. I used to go through Airbnb and go through the little Craigslist and everything else, putting up ads. I haven't done that in a long time. But this makes me reflect on that. No, in most cases, you're going to have to make direct personal contact. Oh, check. People don't buy products and services, they buy the people, the individuals who sell them. And they buy them because they like them and trust them more than they like other people who offer similar products or services. So you have to be really focused on this. The second reason companies feel is that nobody wants the product. Nobody, baby. Forbes just completed a study and found that 80 to 90% of business failure occurs because nobody wants the product in the first place. The people selling the product think it's a good product. They even think that other people should buy it. In many cases, they themselves don't use it. Nobody in their company uses it, and they think it's good for other people. I was quite astonished in working with a very successful company that sold motivational audio programs, with some with the best motivational speakers. With the best ideas and information, I went throughout the entire company and found that nobody in the company listens to the products. They think these products are good for others, but they never touch them. They never listen to them. They never have them in their cars. They drive around listening to music or talk radio. They never listen to the products that they sell. And surprise, company like this eventually go out of business because, as they say, you would have to drink your own Kool-Aid. Drink the Kool-Aid. Drink your own Kool-Aid. I often ask, how many of the people in your company use your product exclusively? It's astonishing. As many as 50 to 70% of people in the company use the competitors' products. They don't use the products that they sell, and as a result, when they do offer it, they have no heart. If you use something yourself and you think it's fabulous, you can talk about it with conviction and enthusiasm, but if you don't, then you can't. So the main problem is poor sales, and the second is that people just don't want the product or services, and they'll tell you that quite quickly. Yeah, they will. In economics, we say that every customer has three choices. They can buy your product, they can buy your competitor's product, they can buy nothing at all. That's what you have to deal with every customer contact. We got quite a bit of ways to go. Let's see. I'm gonna read a little bit more before the weekend starts. Dan, welcome. Thank you for tuning in, love. Does the research show a particular percentage that an owner should take from a business as a salary? What should entrepreneurs expect to take as income? Brian, there is no exact answer for that. It depends upon the success of the business. If you are generating high sales or profitability, you can take more income. If you're not, you can't take any. When I was starting my business, I didn't take any income from it for 2 years. All I did was generate enough income to keep it alive. And as I told you earlier, I had to sell my house, my car, and borrow money from everybody that I knew. And then I moved my business from Canada to the US and started it again. And eventually staffed it up to 20 people. Again, I wasn't able to take any income out my business for about 2 years. I had to take income from every other source, royalty and books and audio programs and everything else. I even had to borrow to keep the business running until finally started yielding profits. I had to put an enormous amount of money into product development, and product development costs are all up front. Product sales are iffy. Maybe they happen in the end, but you have to pay 100% for project development, for stocking up your company before you even get a chance to sell it, unless you do something like what we talked about earlier, where you represent other products. Yes, other brands that are popular, that are already selling. But you don't have to buy them until you have sold them, so you basically take the money in between. It's very common that you don't take any money out of your business. You basically scramble for the first couple of years, but let me tell you another interesting point. Inc. magazine does a study of the 500 fastest growing companies every year, and in the latest review, they looked at the founders of these companies. The fastest growing company of all in the last study had grown 4,200 times in 3 years. That's 42,000%. Many of the companies have grown 50 or 100 times, which is phenomenal. Most companies would be happy if they grew 10 or 20%. They found two things in common among the founders of these companies that really grew. Number one is they started the company because they loved the product and really got excited about it for themselves and their family. On secondary, did they find that other people on secondary, and only secondarily did they find that other people loved it as well. The company that grew 42,000% had developed an early education program for children in primary schools, tied it into an iPad where they could help their kids get straight A's. That is beautiful. And it was a really great concept. And every other parent in America said, I want that. I want my kid to get started off in first, second, third grade with straight A's. That sets him up for life. They have an expectation for life of getting straight A's. Parents began to storm the company asking for it. The company grew 42,000% and started it because they wanted to help their kids. Another entrepreneur, Hamdi Ulakaya, HAMDI ULAKAYA, started Chobani. Oh, my sister buys Chobani. CHOBANI yogurt. Because he came from Turkey and he really liked Greek yogurt. It is very high in protein, very high quality, and they didn't offer it anywhere else. We had this wimpy milk watered down yogurt. Hamdi started to manufacture Greek yogurt at home and sold it to local stores. It started selling like hotcakes, even though it cost twice as much as normal yogurt. His story is phenomenal. He ended up buying a bankrupt yogurt factory in upstate New York, borrowing the money, borrowing the facilities, manufacturing Chobani on a larger scale. It's now one of the fastest and best-selling yogurts in North America. My family would never use anything but Chobani, even though it costs twice as much, because it's so excellent. And remember, he started it because he liked the flavor of Greek yogurt. All right, so when people say, I want to start a business, I say, make sure you're going to offer a product service that you want for yourself, that you want for your family, that you sell to your mother and to your father. Ooh, honey, well, I don't know about that. Janet Jackson puts folks out of the thing when they come to her concert, depending upon what part the concert's at. So that might be a preference right there. And to your best friends, because you think it's so good, it would really make a great difference in their lives. Well, so much for best friends when you start doing stuff like changing your future. They just kind of fall at the wayside if they want to stay still. That is the starting point. That doesn't mean that you'll be successful, but without that, chances are, based on the research, you'll never put your whole heart into your business. You'll be playing golf on Fridays, take your time off and shoot the breeze, living wherever you can beg, borrow, and steal until the company goes broke. Those are the two main reasons companies go broke in the first couple of years, because the product is not wanted or because they don't vigorously sell it. Bigger sales. Let's see. Okay. Okay. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I'm going to wrap this up for today. Yes, it's my time to exit the room. So have a lovely weekend, love tubers, and I'll see you on Monday. Time to go.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.